Farha is the founder of a year-old women's health startup. Ideally, she should be working on her pitch deck or networking with VCs. Maybe she could even be testing out her prototypes. She's doing none of those things right now. Instead, she's worrying about money. Money that technically on paper she's already received in a government grant. Her startup was accepted into an Adal Incubation Center or AIC. These are the flagship government-backed programs that promise grants, mentors, and support for Indian startups. You know, the technical stuff that does need a lot of support when you're building out a company. But Farha's struggles go beyond the just technical. They're exactly what you'd imagine founders to be facing. The on-ground basic things like hiring, marketing, outreach. Important but not as glamorous functions that can't be ignored. But they're time-consuming enough that it leaves her no time to raise external funding. The 36-year-old founder told my colleague at the Ken, reporter Mrunmay, that because she can't raise external funding and because the government grant only covers the tech part of her startup, she has to invest her own money into everything else. Of course, building the platform is necessary. But Farha's vision is bigger than that. She needs more than just tech. She needs to build out a community, which means this is the kind of startup that needs traction and visibility and buzz to really work. Now, Farha expected the incubation center to be the place that understood her problems, especially considering all the talk about mentorship and expansion. But turns out that wasn't quite it. Now, Atal Incubation Centers was launched in 2016 with about 500 crore rupees under Niti Aayog's Atal Innovation Mission. The promise was simple: be the backbone of government innovation and support India's innovators. But after nearly a decade, the results tell a different story altogether. These centers have incubated over 3,000 startups across 72 locations in the country. Out of them, fewer than 5% have raised external capital. And now, the government wants to expand this ecosystem. It has already allocated nearly 3,000 crore rupees to continue the mission. Even states like Karnataka are announcing another 1,000 crore or so in new deep tech and AI funds. But nobody seems to care if the existing network actually works. Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Ken. I'm your host Rachel Verghese, and every day of the week, my co-host Snigdha Sharma and I will bring you one news story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Wednesday, the 10th of December. Supporting startups seems like a very difficult challenge for these centers, especially considering many of these 72 incubation centers can't even maintain a website. Several even lack published funding data and outcome metrics on their websites. Government reports claim that these centers have created more than 40,000 jobs. But there doesn't seem to be any data on what kind of jobs these actually are. In its many years of activity, there haven't been any external audits or even unicorns. There haven't even been many live products that have come out of this entire ecosystem. Founders who worked with the centers don't really have glowing reviews. Mrunmay spoke to Siddharth, a Hyderabad-based hardware founder. His startup, which builds electronic diagnostic kits, joined the center in 2023. Some parts of his products were hard to fabricate and very expensive. Most of his suppliers were sourcing it from Korea. He didn't have any contacts, guidance, or support. So Siddharth thought that this was exactly what the incubator was supposed to help with: connections, options, strategy. Instead, they washed their hands off once they'd given him the money. He claims that most Atal incubators are exactly like this. Basically, generalist centers with no specific domain depth. They'll fund you, sure, but they won't help you build. It looks like the selection process is part of the problem as well. It's apparently absurdly low. In fact, an insider said that AIC admits nearly 30 to 60% of their applicants. So the selection process seems mostly performative. The point is to fill the seats, not really to pick startups that will actually survive. But to be fair, this wasn't how it was supposed to go. These centers were supposed to support early stage startups. Each incubation center would get 10 crore rupees over 5 years. The focus was also on sectors like health, mobility, manufacturing, agri-tech, etc. Startups would get mentoring, grants, infrastructure, all the hand holding early startups need to help risky ideas survive. Mrunmay spoke to Kaushik Chaudhary, who runs the AIC at Institute of Plasma Research in Gandhinagar. He told Mrunmay that the center is supposed to help startups reach the prototype stage. Then, the centers can connect the companies to stakeholders who can take that product to market. Some incubators actually did make this theory work. Take AIC Banasthali in Rajasthan. It has supported 75 women-led startups and almost 30 have raised external funding. Even the center at NMIMS Mumbai has incubated close to 60 companies and almost 10 have raised funds externally. But these are still outliers. Siddharth claimed that most AICs end up being just real estate solutions. They provide the desks and the internet. But the moment a startup needs manufacturing support, they hit a wall. More on this in the next segment. The AIC incubation system was never designed to care. A senior AIM official told us that while it's easy to announce grants, it's harder to disburse them. And the hardest thing of all is verifying how the money is used. Incubators would report activities, things like startup headcounts, weekend boot camps, other selfie-friendly events. But when it came to follow-on funding, continued revenue, and survival, the official said that those meters were never tracked. There wasn't any feedback loop either. If a startup happened to disappear after a month, the incubator would still get credit for just the onboarding process. Nobody checked whether mentors were useful, if startups actually stayed through the program, or if they ended up building something real. Even sector-specific centers received the standard 10 crore rupee grant. So it didn't seem like there was any comparative evaluation going on. As the insider put it, everything was funded, but nothing was measured. But not everyone sees this as a failure. Some say the expectations are wrong to begin with. Take Jameel Khan, who heads a rural incubation center in Jammu and Kashmir. He said that the hard rule for success isn't to raise VC funding. From the government side, it sees if the startup built a prototype or if it generates revenue. That does sound like a fair point. But if the timeline is long, capital is scarce, and support is weak, what are these incubators actually doing? Well, Khan clarified that basically startups get grants for different stages. First for ideas, then prototypes, and finally minimum viable products or MVPs. That's obviously a good starting point. But when it's time to pilot, scale, or test in the real world, there's nothing, no support. Basically, other incubation centers stop at the proof of concept stage. And that results in a pipeline full of early prototypes with nowhere to go. Stay tuned. Unlike programs like Y Combinator or Peak 15 Surge, which take products from idea to market, Atal centers stop early. Now, that's great for R&D, but not very helpful for a startup incubator. Khan told us that startups often end up with a product they can't afford to sell. Other incubation centers also have a follow-on funding rate that is under 5%. Even the best performers hover at 10 to 15%. Most are far lower than that. Now, private accelerators showed what better odds look like. Take the ones we mentioned earlier. Surge, Y Combinator, and even Techstars. They're all very selective by design because they want to choose startups that are built to improve survival odds. And now, states are also joining the incubator push. For instance, Karnataka announced over 600 crore rupees last year for deep tech startups specifically. Another 400 plus crore from venture funds is expected for AI ventures. So, you can see that policy loves incubators. But the data doesn't quite match over there. In fact, a 2025 European study found that startups that skipped incubation outperformed those that didn't. There are also examples of government incubators that have worked far better than this. Take Society for Innovation and Entrepreneurship or SIGN at IIT Bombay. It backed IdeaForge, now a listed drone company that's worth 2,000 crore rupees. Also, Cure AI, which raised more than 500 crore in its Series D quite recently. Sign has incubated over 200 startups. More than 80 of those have received external funding. It has an average follow-on funding rate of nearly 40%. That's 7 times higher than AIC's numbers. In 2024, Sign even reported a portfolio valuation over 12,000 crore rupees. So, the model is right there. The government just has to scale it. Instead, AIC is stuck in this awkward spot. And with it, the startups and founders that it onboarded. Back in Hyderabad, Siddharth startup shut down 6 months ago. But the incubator still lists his venture on its website, as if nothing even happened. Farha's company, on the other hand, is still standing, but barely. She's already working on other plans, and none of them involve starting a company. The government investment in innovation is huge. Between the center and the states, nearly 4,000 crore rupees is at stake. But is anyone even keeping score?
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings. A full subscription offers daily long-form feature stories, newsletters, and a whole bunch of premium podcasts. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the Ken website. Today's episode was hosted and produced by my colleague Rachel Varghese and edited by Rajiv Sien.